Good morning. My name is Tammy Garlock, and I am a mother of three from Mint Hill, just on the edge of Charlotte. I can honestly tell you I never expected to be standing here today sharing anything. However, I came today to share Brian's story. My son Brian would have been a senior at Butler High School this year, except 4 days shy of 2 years ago. Brian made a very simple decision, a mindless choice really, a decision that hundreds of thousands of people make in our community, across the state, and across our great country. When making this decision, nothing happens. However, on this particular day, it changed everything for my family. Thursday, June the 12th of 2008 was just an average day. Summer was getting underway. My son Brian was up early that morning. School was out, and he was working with a friend in the town of Pineville. They were cleaning out a rental house for his friend's father. He drove to work that day, and Brian and his friend finished their job early. However, my son, in fact, was running late. He was supposed to be taking lunch to his girlfriend. Shortly before noon on this ordinary Thursday, as my son was attempting to make a left-hand turn onto Highway 51 in Pineville, his car was struck in exactly the driver's side door. The force of the impact was so great, it spun his car around 180 degrees, and his car was struck a second time by another pickup truck and pushed to the opposite side of the street from where he was trying to make that turn. By the time my husband and I made it to Pineville from Mint Hill, where we live, Brian had been taken by ambulance to the closest hospital just up the street. He was stabilized, but due to the severity of his injuries, he was flown by medical helicopter to the main trauma center in downtown Charlotte, not far from here. He was taken straight from the helicopter into surgery, and my family, when we arrived, we were escorted to a small room off of the main emergency area to wait. In less than 2 hours from the time my son's accident occurred, the chief trauma surgeon came in and delivered the words that ended life as my family knew it. For some reason, and I am not sure why, that surgeon looked at me out of the 10-some-odd people in that little room, and he said, "I'm very sorry, but your son did not make it. He died." 9 or 10 days after Brian's accident, my husband and I had to go deal with what was left of Brian's Honda Civic. Like most mothers, I'm sure, I was determined to get everything out of that little car that had to do with my child. As I was walking around the outside of his car, I saw something wedged behind what used to be the driver's side area. So I made the decision to crawl in through the twisted metal and over the broken glass to retrieve this item. And what I pulled out of that back seat was this. This is my son's actual cell phone that I pulled from his car nearly 2 years ago. I took it home and charged it that night, and by myself, behind my locked bedroom door, I turned it on, and I was able to confirm what we had suspected for just over a week. At the time Brian attempted to make that left-hand turn, he was also attempting to call his girlfriend to say that he was running late. Brian was right-handed. He looked down, found Sonny's phone number, pushed send. He looked up, saw his friend had pulled into traffic, and he followed him. He never once looked to the left. He never once saw the 2 pickup trucks barreling down on his Honda Civic at what we estimate was 50 miles an hour. My son was fatally distracted by this cell phone. The grief process is very difficult. You never think something like this can happen to you or to your child. I can tell you, the grief process is ongoing. My family, we're never in the same place at the same time in terms of how we're coping. But one thing we were united on is this. In May of last year, we made the decision to speak out about Brian's simple choice in hopes to raise awareness and spare some other family the heartbreak that is our constant companion. In keeping with the message of don't lose your life over the press of a button, and let me be very clear, Brian was not texting. He pressed one button and paid the ultimate price for his distraction. His accident happened so fast that that call didn't even show up on our phone bill. I know y'all probably get the statements with your phone bills, especially if you have teenagers. And that call never showed up. The only reason, in fact, that I know Brian was making a call is when I turned this handset on. And yes, nearly 2 years later, we still have it so we can hear his voice one last time. I can see that at 11:46 a.m. on June the 12th of 2008, he pressed send. Last year, we started giving away these pink and black wristbands, basically to anybody who would pledge to hang up their phone while they were driving a car. The pink was because that was Brian's favorite color. The black because he wore calf-high socks with everything, be it his prom tuxedo or his khakis playing golf or his basketball shorts. It didn't matter. I think he did it to drive me crazy, but in any event, that's how we came up with the colors, and it says, "Remember Brian, 6/12/08. My family's greatest hope was that this would serve as an instant message of a different kind to all takers, whether they're wearing it or if they put it in their car where they can see it. When that phone buzzes or rings, announcing a call or a text, they will see this and remember my son and just how quickly things can go very, very wrong." Now, for this last school year, I've been blessed with the opportunity to share Brian's story with mostly freshmen students in area high schools in and around the Charlotte MSA. I've spoken to over 3,700 students, again, mostly freshmen, in health classes and sometimes in driver's ed classes. As part of that process, in the smaller groups, we were able to hand out an anonymous survey asking them some pointed questions, particularly for me concerning cell phones. And let me tell you, it was eye-opening when I compiled the statistics at the end of this school year. Of these children, 93% of them are riding with someone who is either talking and or texting while they are driving them around. Now, please bear in mind, this audience I'm speaking in front of, they don't drive yet. They're not driving. There is a perception out there that this is a teenage problem. Well, as part of these surveys, we asked them, who are you riding with that's doing this? I knew that I had ownership in my son thinking it was no big deal to talk on the phone while driving a car, and I have to live with that every day. But I was shocked to see that of the 93% that are riding with multitasking drivers, 83% of those children indicated the guilty person is their mom and dad. 83%. 83%. Again, Brian didn't think it was a big deal because my husband and I didn't think it was a big deal until it happened to us. I speak out about Brian's story, and I appreciate y'all listening to me today because I cannot change one thing for my family now. But in sharing Brian's story, I hope and pray that maybe just maybe, I can change it for someone else. This Saturday is the second anniversary of Brian's accident and Brian's death. It also coincides with what would have been his high school graduation. So instead of watching my son walk across the stage to get his diploma, my family gets to take flowers to a cemetery, all because of a phone call, all because he pressed send. Please, please, remember Brian. Make a better choice than my son did that day. And please, be a better example than I was. Don't wait until this happens to your family. Who knows? By making a better decision, the life you end up saving could very well be yours. Thank you so much.